Changing resolution in Photoshop is probably one of the trickiest things for students to learn. It takes a little bit to get a handle on what's going on. I'm going to go over this using a picture that is actually quite large. I'm going to go to image size, and then as you can see, my dimensions is 1536 pixels by 2048 pixels. Now, if I bring that up on a calculator and I go ahead and multiply that out, that's 1536 times 2048. That brings me to 3,145,728 pixels. Needless to say, that's a whole lot of little dots. Well, all those dots, the pixels, contain all the information that are putting this picture together. Basically, a pixel is a piece to the puzzle, but it's a very, very, very tiny piece to the puzzle, okay? So you could actually take out some of the pixels and you're not going to notice that they're even missing, especially in an image like this that has so much pixel information anyhow. Now notice that my resolution is set at 72 pixels per inch, but look at my width and height. It's 21 inches by 28 inches. That's a really big image. And if I go to print it out at 72 pixels per inch, it's going to be quite grainy. I don't know if my camera's picking up on this, but you can see the grain in there now. You know, it looks like a little dot painting, you know, what do they call those? Anyhow, I think like our mezzotint filter or something like that does a nice grain like that. But we don't want a grain. You don't want a grain like that if you're printing out a photo. You want it to be nice and sharp and clear. So we wouldn't want to print this out at 72 pixels per inch. We would want to print it out at a smaller size and a higher resolution. So the way that you can change that, there's presets here in Photoshop. I could go down and say, okay, I want it as an 8 by 10 at 300 dpi. And there it is. But look, it's still a little fuzzy. And it's probably just the image quality. You know, you're not going to actually see what the printer's going to do in this preview window. But I can tell that this is not the best picture in the world to print out, okay? Even with the resolution and everything, it's still just not a good quality, sharp picture. But that's not what this video is about. So we're just going to look at the resolution. And also notice in here that it went to 7.5 by 10. Well, that's because this image has already been cropped, so it got as close as it could to making it the actual size. Now, if I go back, if I hold my Option key, Alt key on a Windows-based machine, I can go Reset, and that'll take it back to what it was originally. Now, the easy way to change resolution is basically, you notice the width and the height are connected together. Okay, they're locked together. So if I change the width, it's going to change the height in proportion. And you want that. You want to always change the width and the height in proportion. I'm sure many of you have saw those pictures in magazines, maybe not magazines, but maybe local magazines and certainly newspapers, where you have someone that looks like they have just been stretched out like they were on Silly Putty. And I know you've seen them. I've seen them. I see them. I still see them all the time. In our local newspapers and our local flyers and those little sales magazines and stuff. So it's just where the designer did not keep the image in proportion when they were changing the size. Now, whether they went through image size or whether they just grabbed a sizing handle and changed the size like that, either way, they didn't keep it in proportion. Now, I'll show you how to keep it in proportion when you're changing the size of it by just using the sizing handle in just a minute. But right now, let's focus on this. Okay, so if I want to just change the resolution, I say, hey, you know what, I want to print this out, but I think I need it at least 300. Well, I can change this to 300 and keep the width and the height the same as it is, as long as I don't have all three of these locked together. Now, if I hit resample, it will lock all three of them together. And I'm just going to go back and I'm going to uncheck resample. All right, so now my width, my height, and my resolution are all locked together. And that means that whatever I do here is going to affect this and affect this, and whatever I do here is going to affect this and affect this, and whatever I do here is going to affect this and this, okay? So everything's affecting each other. All right, so now if I change, let's just say I change this to 5. Notice how my resolution shot up. My height went in proportion. It's a 5 by 6.667. My resolution is a 307.2. That's really not a bad image size. That's a pretty good image size to print out. So we could leave it at that, or I could go back and let's resample again, and I'm just going to say, hey, I know that I want this to be 300 pixels per inch. Well, there we go. It's very close to what we had the last time. It's a 5.12 by 6.827. Now, typically, unless you have your own custom printer, you're not going to print out an image that size. You're going to go more with the presets of 4 by 6, 5 by 7, 8 by 10, 11 by 14, and so on. Those are things that you can get printed out at Walgreens and places like that. Okay, so I'm going to cancel out of this. And now I want to show you real quick how to change the image size without, I have to unlock my layer, without actually stretching it out of proportion. I think this is very important for everyone to learn, okay? So the first thing that you want to do is you have to unlock your background. All I did was double click on that layer, and well, I can't do it now, and it will unlock it. You just double click on it and say OK. Alright, so now I'm going to go up here to Show Transform Controls, and you see it puts this box out around my image. So now I can stretch it out. Oh, there we go. Oh, here we go. Yep, there's me and Eldon. We're getting pretty squishy. Now, I know you all have seen images like this, and it just bugs the total crap out of me. I can't stand it. When I see images that are like this, it shows me that the designer did not put forth much effort, because any designer that's worth anything will never let an image go through like this, okay? So don't let me see you all doing this. I will mark off points for it. Now, I know you're new, you're beginners, and the first time I might let it slide, but I will write it in my comments for you so that you can recognize, what you're doing. But this is an easy thing to work around, because all you have to do, bring up my history panel here, go back to open. Oh, actually, I can just Photoshop, since I've transformed it, I've made changes in the size. It's saying, do you want to keep this size? And I can go up here and say, no, I don't want to. Okay, then it takes it back to the original size. Now, if I want to shrink this, all I have to do is hold the Shift key and grab a corner handle. Not a side handle, but a corner handle. And just drag it down. And that will keep everything in proportion. This works in Microsoft Word, it works in InDesign, it works in Illustrator. I don't know, just about every program that I know that lets you resize images. If you hold the Shift key and grab a corner handle, it will keep it in proportion for you. So that's the easiest thing in the world to do as far as resizing something goes. Okay? All right, and it works the same way if I make it bigger too. Make it bigger. Now, my window is only so big in Photoshop, so that's as large as it's going to let me see. But I could go up here and go to Image, Canvas Size, and change my canvas size up there, and make it large enough that my whole image would show. But that's a whole nother video, a whole nother time, so I'll stop there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. Thanks.